This is a review video on the Mesa Subway Plus bass preamp pedal, and I'm going to do some sound examples on this video for you so you can hear what it sounds like. I'm also going to do some talking, explaining how the device works and how I use it within my setup. And hopefully this video will give you the information that you need to know on whether or not you want to buy it. All right, so the Mesa Subway Plus, very flexible preamp. I'm going to give you a quick overview of it and demonstrate how all of the different knobs on the front, how they affect your sound. Right now I've kind of got it set at what I kind of call the neutral setting, as neutral as you can get. I got the boost off, and it's also set at 0. I got the bright and deep switches both off. I got the high pass filter as low as it'll go, so it's essentially off at that point. The voicing knob is at flat. All the EQs are set at 12 o'clock, which is pretty much 0 for them because they're either boost or cut. Either way, either boost or cut there. And I've got the master and input right around 12 o'clock here. Play the bass, need to get a little bit more volume there. All right, that's a little better. All right, so what's cool about it is the master volume here obviously does the thing that you expect. I get more volume, or turn it down, get less volume. But what's cool is I can also use the input gain to get more of a grittier overdrive type tone. And it really reacts, like especially on this bass, you can kind of hear it starting to get a little break up there. So on this bass, when I go back to the bridge pickup, and you can hear it more with the tone up. I've got the tone at 50% right now. And by the way, I've got this bass. This is an active bass, but I've got it in passive mode. So the only thing it's in passive. The only thing that's working here is just the volume, the blend knob, and the tone knob. So it's working just like a passive bass. So I'm not using any of the EQ on this bass right here for what I'm doing here. All right, so as you can hear, it can get a little gritty there if you use the gain, or you can turn the master back up and the gain down and get a cleaner tone. So that's cool. These deep bright switches, actually I'll turn one on time, just a deep. Go back to middle position on the pickups. You can kind of hear how it gives a little bit of that boom, fullness. Bright switch, turn the deep off. Obviously it's going to, your bass settings will have an effect, just like the high gain. You could tell more when I had it to the bridge pickup position. Some of these different things that I'm messing with here on the preamp will have more of effect depending on what bass you're using, the pickups in it, how you have it set. how you've got the rest of your setup set up, whether you're going through an amp, whether you're going direct. So just bear that in mind when you're listening to me messing around with these knobs, is that it's not going to be the same for every bass and for every player. So the high pass filter is something that's extremely useful that I use all the time. One of the great features about it and why I bought this, because all the flexibility it has and also having the built-in high pass filter. I usually have it set around the 12 o'clock position, roughly give or take, depending on the room I'm playing in. Excuse me, because this will allow you to cut out those really low frequencies that are really just kind of making your mix muddy, making your bass a little too muddy. I did a video on high pass filters and how to use a high pass filter and why you want to use a high pass filter. So if you want to check that out, definitely do so. Then you've got this voicing switch. It's not a switch, it's a knob. And on flat, it's basically, you're just going to get a flat, a neutral, I guess, an uncolored sound from it. Obviously, all the other coloration you can add with the EQ is still in effect, but this is kind of like, I guess it's kind of like a built-in EQ curve. When you turn it up, you get a little bit of a fuller tone, a little bit more what people consider a vintage tone. I think what they're doing there is they're kind of adding more of a scoop sound. Whereas you have it all the way off, you can kind of hear that. All right, so I'll turn that back down. The EQ, obviously, that's pretty self-explanatory here. You're going to get a lot of bass if you turn the bass up. For me, I usually have the bass down a little bit, believe it or not. That's actually helps to clean up the tone, and I tend to rely more on low mids to get the bass to kind of cut through a little bit better without being too overwhelming on the low end. Usually roughly somewhere around here. And that's about where normally somewhere in that range, give or take there. The high mids, obviously that's gives you more flexibility so you just don't have one mid band. You can kind of break it up a little. I usually don't do too much with the high mids, but if you're needing a little bit more high end to come out without going all the way up to the treble knob, then you can use, that's usually where I'll play around with that a little bit. But sometimes it just kind of, if you just rely on the high mid, you can make a bass that sounds a little too hollow sounding. So you definitely, for me anyway, using low mids tends to be more what I do. Treble. Again, you're not hearing too much right now because I'm running direct to the to my computer, so it's not really interacting. Like if I'm running this through a PA system, then these knobs you can hear much more of a different effect. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Again, how it sounds here in my home going directly to a computer is not necessarily how it's going to sound when you're playing live. Those are two different animals. So this kind of at least just gives you an approximation of what it can do. So yeah, the treble knob, you can't really hear it right now too much. Let's turn the tone knob up. Now let's turn it all the way down. It's not having too much of an impact, but again, you will hear it more in a live situation or really pumping through a big speaker system or an amp. And of course, you got the boost switch here. How that works is it works in conjunction with this knob. Right now, there's no real boost at all because I didn't adjust the boost knob up here. This will give you an extra kick if you go all the way up. Now I'm like overloading. As you can see now, it's having an impact. So that's a little too much. But where this boost knob can be helpful, obviously, it can allow you to get louder in certain sections of the song if you kick on the boost. But really, for the most part, well, honestly, I've never done that. I've never said, oh, in this part of the song, I want to boost my bass. How I use it is more of an equalizer between basses. If I've got a bass that doesn't have as much output, then I'll use the boost knob on that particular bass to bring up the level so it matches the other bass that I'm using with it. All right. And so it's incredibly flexible unit. The one thing you'll notice, and I love this unit, it's fantastic, but the one thing that does bug me is because there's so many knobs on it, they're so close together, when you're turning a knob, you're always like bumping the other two knobs on each other side of the one knob that you're turning. So that's the only real downside to it. But gosh, is this thing flexible, it's got so much to it. So yeah, awesome unit. I'm going to do some sound examples for you now. the Subway is that it does fit on a Nano or Nano Plus pedal board by Pedal Train. As you can see, it's Velcroed on here with the other pedals, and so it does fit, and it also fits in the carrying case that comes with it. Fits right down in there. As you can see, it fits right in the case. You can zip it up and be on the go there. And I mention that because when I was thinking about getting the Mesa Plus, the Subway Plus, I wasn't sure if it would fit because I already had this Nano Plus pedal board, and that's the biggest size I really wanted to go. So I wasn't sure if it was going to fit on there, but yeah, the Subway Plus fits on a Nano Plus. So that's a very positive thing for me to be able to report to you. All right, so the Mesa Subway Plus actually is a bit lighter than I thought it was going to be. It is pretty well made metal, and so that's all good. So it is sturdy and tough, but I wanted to also show you the jacks in the back. It has quite a few, and I'm sure you can just look at the Mesa website and see what these are for yourself, but real quickly I'll give you an overview. It does have a send and return output on it, which I have yet to use yet. A preamp out, both on the 1/4 inch and XLR, so that's nice. And then you also have a direct out over here for XLR as well. And it has a switch to allow you on this direct out to be able to have it pre or post EQ, so that's pretty cool. You've got the lift and ground switches for both XLRs. You've got a AC jack, which I have it plugged into my pedal board, and I'm using the One Spot. There it is, the One Spot by whoever makes the One Spot, I can't remember now. So it's just your standard, what most pedals use as far as the power supply. It is 9 volt, it's not 18 volt. And speaking of that, there's also that runs on battery. It's got this little battery compartment here, so it's easy to switch out the battery. And believe it or not, I still have the battery that came with it. I never used it on battery power, so that's why I don't really worry about the battery in there right now. But if you did want to use it on battery power, here's how you make it work with battery power. You just plug in your bass. As you can see, it lights up, it's ready to go. But that's something that you got to keep in mind too, is whenever you plug in and you don't have it on AC power, then you're going to be using the battery. Since this battery is still good, and I usually on the pedal board always have this plugged in, I'm going to guess at some point it'll say, hey, there's no signal here, so I'm just going to shut myself off. I don't know, you can check again on the website, but since I still have power after having this thing for about at least 4 months now, always plugged in, either the battery lasts a long time or it just auto shuts off after some point in time. I would have to believe it auto shuts off. I wish I knew this before making this video, because usually whenever I put it in, take it out of the case or anything, it's never lit up, so at some point it must shut off on its own. So anyway, I wish I had that information for you. But as you can see, it has the tuner output here, you plug in your bass here, and then the outputs back here. Oh, and one other thing, as you can see, I've got the Velcro on it because I have it attached to my pedal board, but it actually came with these little rubber feet, which, on each corner, and you can screw those back in. I screwed them off, took them off since it interfered with the pedal board. I needed to have the Velcro flat with the pedal board, so I unscrewed these off. But these little feet screw on and off, that's really handy. And so you can use it either on the pedal board, or if you're using it on the floor, those little rubber feet will help keep it in place and also protect your floor if you're using it on a hardwood floor or something. All right, so that's kind of a quick overview of the physical ins and outs of the Mesa Subway Plus. All right, I want to show you the mute switch, which also can be used in conjunction with a tuner. Right now, I've got the mute switch on, Now it's off, now it's on. You see the red light lights up whenever it's muted. So I've got my bass here, and if I play, I'm just gonna hit the E string on my bass, and you can't hear it, but it's actually, the tuner can hear it. And so the tuner is going, yep, you're in tune there on the E string, great. Now if I unmute the Subway, now I hit the E string on my bass. As you can see, you can still have the tuner be active whether the Subway is in mute or not. So that output from the side, the tuner output is always active whether you're muted or not, but having the mute switch on allows you to silently tune and also be able to switch basses. If you're playing with multiple basses, you can hit the mute switch and change out basses without having to send a pop signal to the main speakers on front of house or any kind of nasty noise from changing out your bass. All right, so here is the Subway Plus next to the Subway, the regular non-plus version of the Subway. And really, it's kind of surprising to me how small of a price difference it is between these two devices. Now, when I purchased the Subway Plus, and yes, I did purchase it, this is not, Mesa didn't come to me and say, hey, review our product for you and we'll give you a free device or anything. No, nothing like that. This is a device I paid for myself. And one of the things I find surprising is just how it's not much more money than the regular Subway. And when I bought it about 4 months ago, which would have been roughly around November-ish, October-ish of 2021, the price on the Subway Plus was $3.99. The price on the regular Subway was $3.49. So for $50 difference, it really packs in a lot of extra features. And so if you're already looking at the regular Subway preamp pedal, you might want to just go ahead and say, maybe just for 50 extra bucks, I might just want to go ahead and upgrade to the Subway Plus. So something to think about. I don't know what the current pricing is right now when you're watching this video, whether it's a month after I record this video or it's 10 years after I record this video, but take a look at the pricing on these two devices if they're both still available, and see which one makes more sense for you to purchase. All right, so one other thing I wanted to mention about this device that I didn't mention here, real quick, I just want to mention that, just to clarify, that there is not a bypass switch on it. A lot of times people want that bypass switch because they'll want to turn it off, so it's like, okay, I want to hear just my bass clean now without any preamp effect on it. Well, you can't do that. It's always on, or it's muted. I mean, those are your two options. Now, I guess if you wanted to get creative, you could do something where you've got the direct out and the preamp out, and somehow maybe having a switch that ABs between the two. I guess you could set something like that up, but otherwise, just keep in mind that this thing is designed to be always on. There is no bypass for it. All right, thank you for watching. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you're still watching, I'm going to assume it probably was helpful for you. Otherwise, you still wouldn't be watching it. So yeah, if it was helpful for you, show your appreciation by hitting the like button on this video and also subscribing to this channel so that you can see other videos, such as other review videos that I do. You'll get notice of them when I release them. So anyway, thanks for watching, and God bless you.